Hi, I'm Abbey Hoskins, and welcome to Girl Power, a series by women for women to inspire you right where you are. Today we're talking to Melinda Fries, and I'm so excited for her to share her story. It's really a story of just strength and proof that no matter what you come from, you can be whatever you set out to be.
This episode of Girl Power is brought to you by Covell Flowers, Espresso, Bakery, and Gifts, Kim Breeden and the crew at Shelter Insurance, June and Beyond Women's Boutique, and Tees Custom Apparel. Thank you for being a proud sponsor of Girl Power.
So, hi, Melinda. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. So for people who are meeting you for the first time, who are you and what does your life look like right now?
Big questions. So if you've never met me before, in Lebanon and Laclede County, I'm pretty well known as being the administrator of Lebanon Area Foundation. That is our area's community foundation. We only really have one of those, so I'm not competing with anyone. I have the honor of being able to serve as an umbrella for area nonprofits to link resources with needs. So if there are people who would love to create legacies with scholarships or really support their favorite cause after they've passed away, then we're the mechanism to do that here in our county. So very exciting. I've been doing it for over 10 years, and it's given me the opportunity to be very connected in the community, to get to know everyone, from the people who have boots on the ground to their clients, to the individuals who are blessed enough to be able to take care of things at a monetary level or make big changes because they know the right person who can make that thing happen. And it takes a really long time. It took all 11 years I've been there to build that sense of community around Lebanon Area Foundation and all of that. So when you ask me who I am, that's who I am. But I'm also a person. And so I am a mom. I've got two amazing boys, one who is graduating high school this year. And I am a volunteer. I love volunteering. It's almost problematic how much I love volunteering. It's something I was raised to do. I am a wife, and I'm a happy wife, which is not always the case for most.
Right.
I can say that I am married to my absolute best friend. So I'm a very, very happy wife, and I am a friend, and get to be your friend, which is fun.
Yes.
I really like people, and I really like lifting people up. I really like connecting people. I like serving a need that maybe not everybody sees and educating them. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a student. I am currently working on my master's degree. So I'm a whole lot of things.
You're
and
a whole
I think
lot
everybody
of things.
is a whole lot of things.
I've seen you've also recently gotten into sourdough and baking and all the things too.
If you want good therapy, sourdough's it.
Yes.
I also have a problem with chickens.
Chickens.
It's a problem, people. It's a problem.
I didn't realize you had chickens, I'll be honest.
I have 40 chickens, Abby. I have 40. If you have chickens,
right,
and you're watching this right now, give me a shout out, because chickens are life. Chickens are very cuddly. I don't know if you know that.
I am afraid of poultry, Melinda. I did not know that.
So they do have talons, and they can go for the eyeball sometimes, but they love you. I have named most of them, and even the ones that are not so pleasant, I love. So and I'm a dog person. I have 5 dogs, and I need to not be any more of an animal person because my house is full. We almost had a house chicken.
That's actually really interesting and impressive.
I'm just saying they have diapers for chickens. We own 4 of them. So,
I love that. So you
anyway,
are a woman who wears a lot of hats. You are so important. You have, I know you say you're not important. You are very important to this community, and you have honestly a thankless job. I know I see you everywhere. I see you. You're helping. You're lending a helping hand, whether it's a listening ear or whatever. So I'm so glad for you to share your story today. Which leads me into my next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me a little bit about how you were raised. What was your childhood like, and what values were modeled for you growing up?
So, the audience should know she let me know this was a question I was going to have to answer, and that, gosh, you think I am 45 years old, so it's been a minute since I've really thought that hard about my childhood, and what I can say is I am so grateful to have been raised in the circumstances I was raised in, and they were not great, but I was raised by a mom and a dad who had struggled in their childhoods. They hadn't had the best upbringings, and so I can say they absolutely did their best, and they worked very, very hard for our family, but we were extraordinarily poor. My father was desperately trying to pull us up and out of the food bank lines and the clothing lines. It was two young people who had 3 children very early. My father was originally in seminary school, which does not pay well. My mother, she worked at a bank for a little while. And then when you have 3 kids, you become a stay-at-home mom because you can't afford childcare and all of that. And my father had to pivot, and he decided to become a college student so that he could do better things, pull us up by his bootstraps. And he did college at night, and he worked in a grain factory in the daytime, throwing very large bags of grain onto train cars. I remember being very, very young and seeing him come home and coughing up grain and dust and blood, and eating a whole lot of food. My mom made everything from scratch. We couldn't afford anything else. And then running to class, and then he'd get 2-3 hours of sleep, go back, do it all over again. And I remember watching that and thinking about it as I grew up, like, wow, he really worked so hard, and we were so poor. Fun fact: if you're so poor that you can't afford meat, so you're kind of obligatory vegetarian, you can have Child Protective Services called on you.
Really?
That happened to my parents.
Oh my gosh!
Because we were just so skinny. That was our genetics, only as kids.
Right.
And we didn't eat meat, but we ate. We ate what we could, down to the roots of the plants in our garden. We did what we could. And my mom did it with grace. And she was, even though we were poor, the house was always clean. Our clothes were always clean. Our hair was brushed. There were times we didn't have a vehicle. We just figured it out. And I remembered growing up not realizing how very poor we were until I got to school. And kids are really good at letting you know when you are not wearing the right thing, or you don't look right, or you don't have the right name, or all the things. School was hard, and having parents that had strong social anxiety meant that you really didn't do a lot of things outside of school, which was fine. But what I do remember very well from my childhood was we always had the library. We couldn't afford books, but we could afford to walk across town to the library. And we would go every week. And my mom loved to read. That was her escape as a child. And she wanted that for us because when you're poor, you can't go on vacations and see the world, but you can with books.
Right.
And the library is it's this amazing place where it doesn't matter what you look like or how much money's in your pocket or where you live. You get to walk into a library and nobody's going to treat you less than. And you have full access. All you need is a library card. And I have loved the library since I was about 3 years old. My mom had all of us reading by about 4. So we were reading before we were entering school. She was an amazing mom, and she did so much with us with no money and no resources. We had no family that helped us, no friends. But she did what she could. And my dad eventually was able to get his degree in computer science, and he got a job at Boeing. But that meant that we started moving around a lot, because Boeing is this big aircraft company. And he was designing the programs for, I don't know if you remember, Blackberries.
Yes, I do. Of course I do.
They used those tools when they were down on the factory building the airplanes to be able to run the assembly lines. And he wrote the code for all of that. And so, and that brought us closer to middle class, which was amazing. We went from living in World War II college campus housing with no insulation and very little electricity access to a trailer park, which is an upgrade.
How old were you when this happened, this transition?
That was about second grade.
Okay.
And then we lived... First, I was born in Washington. Then we lived in Michigan for a little bit. Then it was Kansas. And then I remember most of my childhood in Kansas, and that was my favorite public library as a kid. And then we moved to Washington again, because Washington and Kansas are where the Boeing factories are. And we moved around Washington quite a bit. So I was probably every grade to 2 grades, I was in a new city, a new school. But it's weird. The bullies are the same
Everywhere you go. Yes.
It is what it is. And because you're new and you only have so much time to make friends before you move again, it was pretty rough. And the thing I had was the thing my mom had, which was books and libraries. And that was the thing we could always rely on. So I learned about everything. I loved biographies. I loved geographical books telling me about history of different places. I was going to, at one point, save the world from litter.
Oh, yeah.
And so a book inspired me to walk around on Erie Street it's a real place in Kansas, and pick up cans. And beer cans are really popular in front yards of not so great neighborhoods.
Right.
And so I got in trouble from some people, because here I am, this tiny little girl picking up beer cans and telling them that they really shouldn't throw them in their yard. I have always been an outspoken woman. And so anyway, I couldn't save the world picking up litter.
Right.
And so then I was like, obviously I need to think bigger. And I read a book on nuclear power plants. So I designed a notebook deciding how I was going to save the world with nuclear power.
Okay.
So that we could get away from coal. So this was all in like first, second grade. This is my thing. I tend to rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm going to fix it. I've always wanted to fix things. I watched my dad fix things. I watched my mom fix it. I'm going to fix the things. So anyway, finally made my way. I was in a place called Cedar-Woolley, Washington, when I entered, I think 7th grade is when we moved there. And I stayed there for quite a few years, all the way into high school. I know 3 years isn't quite a few, but it is to me.
Right.
In one place. It was amazing. We actually owned our own mobile home. And I was having a hard time. When you're a very outspoken, rabbit hole, loves to read, kind of weird, doesn't really have the money to wear all the nice things, and doesn't really care about having the money to wear all the nice things.
Right.
You
People
get
don't
really
like that.
bullied. Oh, and my maiden name is Chestnut.
Oh, of course. Another thing to add to the fire.
It was so good. And I have curly hair, and I don't have straight teeth, and I was born half deaf in one ear. So wearing a hearing aid in middle school and high school is not cool, ma'am.
Right.
And so things got really, really bad. And I stopped being a very good student because even though the teachers love it, nobody else does. Being a good student is not popular. And I became very small. I got really into kind of that dark, angsty period that a lot of teenagers experience. And it's not a bad place. I still love 90s angry music. But I started doing things that were very hurtful to myself. I had experienced some personal attacks in my 13 and 14 years old up to 15. It's just been really, really hard. And I think a lot of 13, 14, 15-year-old girls can relate to what that can look like. And so I started cutting. And if you don't know what cutting is, you just take a sharp object. Mine was weirdly steak knives. And I would just find areas on my body that I could hide. And whenever I was really feeling a lot of pain, I would try to take that emotional pain and make it physical. And in my teenage mind, I thought that would solve my problem. But I was just scarring myself and alarming my parents.
Right.
And they were very concerned. I was starting to get in trouble at school. And I was hanging out with maybe not the most well-adjusted crowd. And so they said, okay, what do we do? This is now a big problem. And at the time, I disagreed with them, but as an adult, they were right. They were trying to decide on if I should be sent to a boarding school, not expensive, but a boarding school for problematic teenagers, or if maybe I simply needed to get out of the constant over a decade bullying. And so I was fortunate enough to be college level by 4th, 5th grade. And so it took nothing to, and I skipped a grade too. That didn't help.
Right.
So anyway, they pulled me out my sophomore year of high school, and they didn't want to stunt my life by like homeschooling. They wanted to put me in with people that maybe could inspire me to get through some of my problems. And I begged them not to send me to a boarding school. So they sent me to college. I tested in, which is rare, and with your parents' permission, and you have to pay for a whole lot because the state won't do it.
Right.
They enrolled me in my local 2-year college. It was Skagit Valley College in Mount Vernon, Washington.
So how old did you say you were?
I was 15.
15
I was
and a
15
college student.
In college. I could not drive yet, but I took driving courses. In Washington, you have to take actual official courses and pay for it.
Right.
So I took driving courses at night, and I was in college during the day. The college was almost an hour away by bus from Cedar-Woolley to Mount Vernon. And so I would get on the SCAT. It's not a well-named bus, the SCAT bus, at like 5:30 in the morning, and then I'd get home at like 10 o'clock at night. Because I had college all day.
Wow.
And I did my very, very best to hide my age, because 18 to 40-year-old college students do not want to know that they're dealing with a 15-year-old in their class. The teachers knew, and I requested they not tell anyone. So that worked out well for a while. I loved it.
Yeah.
There's no bullying in college.
They don't care. Once you turn into an adult, you realize there's no point.
It was amazing.
That is. And thank
nobody
goodness.
cared what I wore. I kind of turned into a hippie after a while. Like, I mean, this hair could do it. And I just embraced all that. I met one of my best friends was 35, and she didn't even know how old I was. I really held that secret down. I did not want people to think of less of me or just feel like I couldn't relate. And but the cutting stopped. I needed to get out. And I think high school is amazing for a lot of people. And I think it's important that we gut through and persevere. But I was not in a safe or healthy place. And
thank goodness
so
your
really
parents recognized that too and gave you these options, and you chose, college instead of boarding school. So that's amazing. That's a testament to their parenting too.
100%. We don't know what our kids need or how they can do it, but we do know when they're not in a good place.
Right.
And so when in doubt, do what you can. And if I had maybe been high school level academics, that wouldn't have been an option. And maybe I would have needed to move to a different situation, maybe a private school or something like that. There's a lot of options. But for me, a part of me not being a good student was college level at 4th grade.
Right.
You're not getting what you need in high school. And so I got what I needed, and I thrived, and I fell in love with sociology, and advanced Spanish, even though I'm terrible at it. I got to have my own radio show.
That's awesome.
That was really cool. The college had its own radio station, and you got to learn how to run the board. It was very fun. I ended up being assistant editor of our college paper. This Skagit Valley College isn't your typical 2-year college. It's it's a big deal. It's giant campus, and I ended up in the Phi Theta Kappa chapter. And I became their communications officer. And I was still hiding my age because I did not want anybody to mistreat me. But then I was elected president.
Oh, wow.
And when you're president of the Phi Theta Kappa chapter, you have to travel to these big conferences. It was the first time I traveled alone. And I had to admit at that time I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I need parental permission to get this airline ticket. I don't have the ability to travel without that. And so I had to confide in my fellow chapter officers, and then it just blew up and felt like the whole school knew. But for at least a year, I hid that, and it was wonderful. I made some of the best friends, some amazing people.
That's awesome.
And I remembered the turning point for me because I had no confidence when I went into college, none. But I've always done things without confidence. I just do it anyway because I feel like that's what you should do. Like picking up the beer can, you do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you're brave.
Right.
And so I did college, and I signed up for the things because it felt like the right thing to do. I've always been morally guided as best I can, as best as any human can. But I had a professor, Professor Ortiz. He was my communications professor, and he was phenomenal. He's one of the best people. And when he found out how old I was, he was like, you do realize you could do anything with your life. And I was like, I'm going to be a social worker. And he goes, maybe don't do that. And I was like,
well, that's rude. I'm not listening to you. I'm 16.
My psych professor was like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because everything I do is big. Everything is very emotional. Like I cry at the Sarah McLachlan videos of the dogs. Like I cry at everything. Everything.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's a problem. Yeah. It's problematic. I feel things in big ways, but that's what makes me push through the scary things, right? And so he was like, you could be president of the United States. And I was like, I was taught that maybe that's not a good thing.
Yeah, pump on the brakes.
Politics is not for me. But I was like, wow, I never had anyone tell me I could just do anything. And that changed everything for me. I finished my schooling up. I discovered who I was. I became a wife and a mom. And I still felt like I needed to do more. And the one thing that always kept going back was I wanted to be a librarian, because librarians are the ones that made me feel best when life was hard. And so I went back to school after my youngest was in preschool. And I did it all online, and I got my bachelor's in library science. And so that doesn't mean I'm a librarian. Technically, an actual librarian has to have a master's.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. You
can work in a library for years. You can be an amazing librarian, but you're not actually, you're a library technician until you have a master's. And you don't even have to work in a library to be a librarian. You just have to have a master's in library science.
Okay.
I know.
I didn't know that.
But I was on my way, and I did the hard work, and I got that done. And I really wanted to work in a library. And I applied for a librarian position, a children's librarian position in Springfield, because that was the only one hiring. And I did an interview. And it was terrible, and I was sweating, and I totally did not get the job.
I think we all have one of those.
It was so bad. Yeah. I
Keeps
did
you
not
up at
answer
night
the
all
right
these years
questions.
later.
I was not prepared, and I failed. And then I applied for another job at a library, and I totally didn't get the job. They were like, you don't have any experience, all the things. I'm like, I'm never going to be a librarian. What do I do? And while I was getting my bachelor's, I had become friends with Kathy Dame, who at the time was the director of our library. And she had answered all the organizational questions for my final projects, and she was so good. And I was in the library volunteering probably 8 hours a day, just dedicated to learning everything I could. And she had found out that the director of the Literacy Council was going to be retiring. And she thought, you know what, they need some new blood. And she said, you should apply for this. And I was like, I don't know about that. And she said, no, just do it. And I was like, man, nobody's going to want me. I've already been denied twice. I can't even get and it was, at the time, it was like $10 an hour jobs I was applying for, and they did not want me. And I was thinking I was not valuable.
Right.
And I do the interview, which was scary, and I sweat all the time. And I walked out knowing that I didn't get the job. And then they called me and was like, we would love to have you. And
wow.
Stop it. I went from nothing to the director of something. Now, I was paid $8,000 a year.
What year was this, or how old were you?
This was 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Oh my gosh. So that is another thankless job.
But it was so fun. And everybody was so great. The Literacy Council Board of Directors was probably my favorite board I had ever met. They were just so kind. I remember Stephanie Hasty was on it before she left us for another state. And she had the biggest smile, and she was always so nice. And there were so many nice people on there. And I had so many ideas because I'm a rabbit hole girl.
Right.
All the ideas. So I was like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I started, even though the Literacy Council's mission, and it's a phenomenal mission, is to serve adults. I've always believed, because my mom proved it to me, and so my truth is that it starts in childhood.
Absolutely.
And if we can prevent the kids who are behind from getting further behind. I was tutoring kids, they were 18, 19-year-old, who were completely illiterate because they had pretty terrible lives. They were either running through the foster system, or they were homeschooled when they weren't. There's a lot of amazing homeschoolers out there, but there's also a lot of people who are not actually homeschooling when they say they are.
It's just an excuse to not take their kids to school.
And it's terrible. And so I was doing a lot of great tutoring, and I was seeing that these kids and teenagers, adults-ish, were coming in, and they were at second grade level, third grade level, maybe. And I'm trying to help them fill out job applications. And I'm thinking, we really need to get back to the basics here. And so I found curriculum and created curriculum, because my library science degree is a teaching degree. It's really meant to build you up for becoming a school librarian.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I know how to build curriculum. I had 2 years of everything was a curriculum project. So I did that. And then I learned about the Imagination Library. And I thought, one, Dolly Parton is amazing.
She is, yes.
I love her.
I agree.
2, what a beautiful gift we could bring to everyone, because I didn't want to serve just poor kids, or just foster kids, or just privileged kids. I want to serve all of the kids, right? Because everybody, we don't know where you're at unless we can get to you.
Right.
And a lot of the kids the adults that I was tutoring, nobody had hands on them, eyes on them. Nobody had been able to catch them before it got that bad. And so I thought, this is something nobody would say no to. It's free books, right? But I had to find sponsorships. I had to fund. The Imagination Library is not free. Whoever brings it to your community has to find ways to pay a very inexpensive cost, but you have to find sponsorships. And I had no experience in fundraising, no experience in all of that. I was still so new in the nonprofit world. I really didn't understand a lot, but I really wanted it to happen, and it did. And that meant I got my first TV interview.
That's incredible. So
KY3.
You're the reason the Imagination Library was able to serve our community.
For a while, it stayed until it couldn't anymore. I raised as much money as I could with the help of our community. But when the next few directors came in after I left the Literacy Council, it wasn't sustainable. They really needed to get back to their mission. And it's not fair to expect somebody to fill the shoes of somebody who was willing to do so much more.
Right.
Right. And so I don't blame the Literacy Council for that at all, but it was here for about 4 or 5 years, and then it finally had to go away, and it was amazing.
It's back again because my son actually receives the books. Yes.
Yes.
It's
I was so
ages
happy
0
to
to
see
5.
it come back.
Yes.
And a lot of that was the initiative of Dolly Parton and her team at the Imagination Library to really get into the communities that were struggling to be able to afford to bring it in. But yes,
it's incredible
happy to see that come back. So it was really a great experience. And that TV interview actually changed my nonprofit world experience up, because that made the community see me a little bit like, oh, there's this person. It was a terrible interview, ma'am. So bad.
It wasn't
my oldest
that bad.
son
I
still
doubt it.
teases me about it.
Really?
It's a really big deal. That's all I said over and over again. Imagination Library is a really big deal. I had no idea what I was going to say. And I probably talked for 15 minutes and it was a 25-second blurb.
Right. Just about how big of a deal it was.
People. But anyway, that kind of, it brought awareness of the program, awareness of the Literacy Council, and awareness of me, because I had not had a chance to get out and do a lot. A lot of nonprofit people don't have the time to get out in front of people and talk about their organizations because they're too busy doing the work. And that was my experience. And so then Millie Gann, who is the current administrator, love you, Millie, current administrator of Lebanon Area Foundation, was moving on. She wanted to do other things. And so they were on the hunt for an administrator. And she had seen the KY3 interview, and she had met me at the Community Cares Grant Award celebrations. And she was really trying to find an area nonprofit leader that might be able to take on the larger job of LAF. And she called me and encouraged me. And I was like, well,
we'll give it a shot.
It's probably not going to happen. Why not? So being a researcher, libraries, being a researcher, I went onto their website. And I was like, ooh, And I searched for them on social media. No, couldn't find them. And I was like, okay, well, I need to know more about them, because why would I apply for something I don't know anything about? So I went and I checked newspaper clippings. I did all the things. And then when I got to the interview, all these very wonderful humans were smiling at me. And it became a, hey, you know what? I was going to tell them how I was so fit for this amazing organization, but my vomiting out of my mouth was, you really need to improve this and this and this. And I really recommend that you because I'm a fixer.
Right. That's what you do.
And they did not take it badly at all, because they were so, so kind. And they recognized that I was coming from a place of love. And they were like, okay. Now, normally, you cannot be the administrator of Lebanon Area Foundation unless you have a master's degree. The fact that they let me interview was insane.
They saw something in you.
It's all, well, I don't know.
And this is about 10 years ago?
This was 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
I was only with the Literacy Council about a year. And so I was like, this is what I am. This is what I'm about. And if I don't know something, and I don't know a lot of things, I'll figure it out. I will learn. I love research. And they were like, you know what? Why not? Because up until that point, so the administrator position didn't start until Community Cares, which is that local giving program, until that started. They didn't need an administrator. And from the beginning, the administrator was really not a long-term job. It seemed like everybody was there maybe 1 to 3 years, and then they would move on to other things. It wasn't, especially at the time, very high paying. There were no benefits, but compared to $8,000 a year, it was a big move up.
Right.
I moved up quite a bit, and at the time they were offering $27,000 a year for the salary if you had a master's degree, and no benefits and very little time off. But that's the way of a nonprofit, right? Nobody who works in nonprofit is paid what they're worth. I wish that wasn't the case. It's just the reality of it.
Right. You have to have the heart
but
for
it was a big upgrade for me. And so I was like, okay, we're doing this. And I started out in this closet essentially in the Civic Center with a laptop, and we had about $500,000, which felt like a lot for sure, in assets, and almost like a clean slate, because there was opportunity in that our website really didn't have a lot of activity, so we could completely change it up. And I don't have any formal training in websites, but I've built quite a few. I built the literacy councils, and then I was going to build LAFs, and I built a lot of other ones since then. And then they didn't have social media, so I got permission from the board to start it, and they were very nervous. They did not like the idea of us being on social media because that's not what we do, and what about our reputation, and we don't want to get into the drama that could be on social media. But as you see, you can't not be on social media.
Yeah, people need to know who you are, what 100%. You're about. And normally Facebook, that's the first place they'll look.
Yes, and I tend to cater to people who are older, you know, my age and up, and Facebook is where it is, and then we're going to obviously expand to Instagram soon, but so far it's been really, really great, and LAF's been able to get a lot of initiatives going. We've been able to share about opportunities, and we've been able to really educate people, which is one of my favorite things to do, about the resources in our community. It's kind of, does it bother you when people say there's nothing to do in Lebanon?
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
You know that's not true,
there
right?
are all the things if you go out and look.
And people say there's no resources in Lebanon. That's not true. We have more per capita than Springfield. And there's no good people. The Lebanon's a good old boys club.
It's just the bad outshines the good. Yeah, exactly.
But the reason that people think that is they just don't know about it, right? I don't think they say it because they like being mad at our community. I think they say it because they truly believe that's the real deal. And I welcome that opportunity to say, oh, no. Let me show you what I see. And if you don't see that as a resource, maybe this would be a good resource. Or because there's always so much more to the reality of our situation than what one person sees. So I really like talking about that. I like informing people of what's happening. But
absolutely.
You can't inform people if you don't have the information.
Yes.
And that's why we connect.
So thank goodness you said, hey, no, we do need social media. And now,
so badly.
Yes. So what part of what you do feels most meaningful to you right now?
Okay. That's tough. So because I have such a strong advocacy level for education, for lifting people up, for literacy, I love scholarships. Scholarships they can make or break somebody's decision to change their life.
Absolutely.
And I watched my father. We stayed poor for a really long time after he got a really great job because he was loaded down with student loans. We had 2 mortgages because of that. And we always want better for the next generation, right?
Right.
And so when I started focusing on the scholarship aspect of LAF, I realized that we administered scholarships, but we really weren't getting to the kids to teach them about scholarships. And I found that a lot of the scholarships I was administering were basically being given to the same 15 kids. And these are the kids that were a little bit like me, but more motivated to do well. They're really smart, they're really capable, and they're going to college no matter what.
Right.
But I wasn't seeing other kids, the kids over at the alternative school, the kids who maybe were not 4.0 students. I wasn't seeing those kids applying for anything. And I see the applications. I don't just see the recipients. A lot of scholarships are selected through the organizations that I serve with. And I was like, what's holding them back? And so I went and talked to the Go Caps teachers, and they loved the idea of me explaining scholarships. I stole a slideshow and then built on that slideshow how to apply and how to get organized for scholarships. And I keep changing it because as I learn more, I do better. And then I asked Lebanon High School if I could come in and talk to their kids, because I wanted to dispel the myth that you have to be perfect to get a scholarship.
Right.
I serve on so many scholarship committees that we're really and truly, if you're perfect, it's almost unfair because we don't want you.
Right. You want the
you're
ones
going to
who
do so good, and we're really excited for you, but we're looking for the people that need not just the money, but the confidence
right.
to go to school and to know that maybe they don't have support at home. Maybe they've never had support, but there is somebody out there that read their story and said, you're good enough, and I believe in you. And so I wanted to get that out there. And I also wanted to make it clear that there are scholarships for everyone. There are scholarships for left-handed people.
Really?
Just have to be left-handed. There's scholarships for people who are really, really good at art. You can be terrible at every other subject, but if you can provide a really cool art portfolio, you can get a scholarship. There are scholarships just for boys. Girls need not apply.
Right.
And there's literally scholarships for everything.
It's incredible.
It's been really, really exciting to grow that and to really get in. It takes a lot of time. And every time I add a new scholarship into LAF's repertoire, it's like, oh, that's more work. Keep in mind, I'm the only full-time person at LAF.
So you are busy.
So it's a lot.
All the time.
But that is a big passion. But more so than that, because keep in mind, I was in line for the food with my mom.
Right.
And if we hadn't gotten the food, and if I didn't have the clothing, and if we didn't have the ability to get through that portion of our lives, I wouldn't have ever been to college, right? And so more than scholarships, I like to get to the root of things. The root is basic vital needs. And so Community Cares, the program, the local giving program, the whole reason we have an administrator is the top reason for me. It's the thing I'm most passionate about. And not because I love fundraising.
Right.
No, ma'am. I do not like asking for money.
No, I don't know of anyone who really does.
Nobody likes
it's
it.
awful.
No, and I can take rejection. I'm used to it. And I ask for money a lot. That's not the fun part. But the fun part is seeing the donations and the donors behind the donations say, this is important.
Right. And you're absolutely right. If someone's basic needs aren't met, likely they're not thinking about college and high school. They're in survival mode, trying to think about how can I get through this day.
And we judge them based on how we are in our position. Oh, I can't believe they chose to buy that thing or do that or go there. I wouldn't. Well, your brain's not wired the same way when you're in survival mode. No. I do know what it is to be hungry, not just as a child, but as a teenager. I ended up really not even living with my parents between the ages of 15 and 18 because taking that SCAT bus was really, really hard to do. And we couldn't afford to have me do that. So I couch surfed for 3 years. I do know what it is to have nothing and be just in that survival mode and just trying to get to class and do the things. Hunger is real. And making bad choices is real, and it doesn't make you a bad person. And I was so lucky to have met individuals in my life that took me under their wing and said, of course you can sleep on my couch. Here's some pizza. Are you hungry? Do you want some coffee? I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I do understand what it is to really not know where you're going to sleep next, when your next meal is going to be. You're relying on generosity and you're just trying to get through. And if I hadn't found generous people in my teenage life and in my child life, I would not be here being able to serve the community in this way. And I don't know that I would have wanted to serve.
Right.
You know, when you experience generosity, when you see compassion from other people, that's being modeled to you. And I want to model that to others. And I want to inspire other people, because if one person is saving the day all the time, one, they're going to get burnt out. And two, what are you really accomplishing? You need people. Yeah. You need the individuals who love knowing that they're taking care of people. You need them to be that rally team. You need to see that. And
it just goes to show too, no act of kindness is too small, and you never really know how much it's helping someone because you don't know what situation they're in. That's
100%. I think it's impact. Mm-hmm. I think impact and our passive actions are very impactful. Smiling at somebody in the Walmart. I know nobody likes to go there,
right?
But just smiling at them, putting your card away. That was a big one for me and my kids. Mm-hmm. We always put the carts away.
Yes.
It's really, really important to me that we be kind. Because you don't know if getting that young girl who's not doing very well in school, cutting up her arms, giving them an opportunity to go to college could change your whole community. Mm-hmm. They could be running the nursing home you're going to be in later, right?
Exactly.
And education in all its forms, from public education to higher level education or basic learning at home. That's what's going to get us there. Mm-hmm. Because I don't trust a surgeon to work on me if they've never learned how to be a surgeon, right? And so it's really important that we support education no matter where we are in life. And it's important that we support people because we don't know if we're going to need those people later. That's like the selfish way of looking at it, I guess. But one, volunteering and supporting people just feels good. Mm-hmm. It just does. And two, it changes the culture of your community and it makes it better. We all want people to be nice.
Yes.
So I came from a city of gangs, a lot of drugs. We were number 2 in the U.S. for heroin, a lot of crime. Our cars were constantly broken into. Bad things happened. And so when I moved to Missouri, I took all of my my fears with me. And I remembered one of the first things I had, my 2-year-old, and I was getting ready to get in the car from the Walmart. And a gentleman walked up behind me and he was like, "Ma'am." He was an older gentleman. And I was like, oh, and I got my car keys ready. I don't know if you girls know when you're instinctive, you get it ready. You're going to punch them with those keys and you're going to cause damage because how dare they speak to you? You don't know them. It's stranger danger. And he was like, "Ma'am, your tire's flat." And I was like,
oh,
don't make me look at the tire. I don't trust this man.
He's going to jump you.
Because strangers don't talk to strangers, right? Mm-hmm. This was my first time in a small community. I was from just outside Seattle. And so anyway, I was like, okay. And he was like, "Do you need help with that? I can help you." And I was like, "No, I'm fine." And I'm just like terrified because you're trained when you're in a large community that really doesn't seem to care about anyone. Mm-hmm. You're trained that you're on your own. And my keys were my weapon. So here I was. And he was like, "Okay, I'll just walk away now." And he was so nice. He was so nice. And I was just floored. Of course, I called somebody and they came and helped me. But I remember that was a really impactful time. Mm-hmm. My first experience of somebody being kind in Lebanon and being from a place where you don't flash your lights because they might attack you, where you lock everything up and you don't make eye contact. And then I came here and I was like,
"Is he actually
Mayberry?
Trying to help me?" Yeah.
This is so safe. People don't lock things. You should lock your things.
Lock your doors.
But people don't. Mm-hmm. And I know there's crime everywhere because people aren't always nice. They don't always make good choices. They're not always sober. Mm-hmm. Crime is bad and horrible things happen. And I understand. This is such a lovely place. This is a place where people smile at Walmart.
Yes.
This is a place where strangers notice that your tire is flat and offer assistance. Mm-hmm. And I come from a large amount of cities, and I've been to a lot of them. And I am a transplant, so I never went to Lebanon High School. I am so proud to live in this place and to work for a organization that has a program that people support. Like, Why would
Absolutely.
you care if other people have food, right?
But we're passionate about it. And I noticed that taking it to the streets, you have volunteers all day out there, and the amount of money you raise from that, from people being at
Amazing.
the stoplights, it's people really truly care here.
They do. They do. I tell the kids that I talk about scholarships with, I say, go see the world, travel, go to St. Louis, go beyond, check out Washington if you want to, California, but come back. Trust me, you'll want to, because it doesn't feel like there's a lot to do, but I promise you there is. It doesn't have all the amenities. Are we a rich town? No, we are not, but we are growing.
Yes.
And we're growing in the best ways, because not only are we economically growing, I love what downtown's doing. I'm so appreciative of everything Brian Thompson does. We are doing such great things thanks to really forward-thinking leadership, but we are also maintaining who we are. We're not losing ourselves to the big city. I'm not seeing people ignoring the flat tires. I'm not seeing people saying, I don't care if they eat today as long as I can have 15 quarter pounders, right?
Right.
People want to help each other, and I hope we never lose that. But that's why I'm here, and that's why I don't ever want to live anywhere else. And my husband and I agreed, this is our home. This is what we will fight for. This is what we will invest in. And we're so grateful to see others investing in it too.
Well, that's incredible. And we're so fortunate to have you here too, because the impact you've had, not just on one people, but so many people, is so great, and even greater than you know.
I've been lucky that anybody listened at all. I'm just that outspoken rabbit hole girl that didn't come here and didn't have a familiar name or face. And I'm just so grateful for the kindness of Lebanon, because they said, we'll give you a shot.
And now,
Why not?
10 years later, look at everything. It's amazing.
And good things are happening.
So I am going to wrap this up. I have one last question, and that's, what's one piece of advice you'd give to women younger than you?
Yeah. All right. There's a lot of them out there. One piece of advice, for me, it is, and it's cheesy, but I literally say it to myself almost every day, is do it even though you're scared.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean jump off a cliff without a parachute, use some common sense. But if you have an opportunity, an interview, a degree that maybe you're not sure if you'd be good at, or a club that you don't know if somebody's going to be nice, and if you don't know what the outcome's going to be, but it's something you're excited about and it's something you believe in, maybe it's just standing up in front of people and telling them who you are, or having an interview with this beautiful lady. It's scary, and it's very easy to go, no, or I'll do it later. I'm 45 and I'm in graduate school.
Yeah.
It's scary and it's hard, but you should do it anyway.
Growth doesn't happen inside of your comfort zone.
And and when I say uncomfortable, it's so uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable with your life. If you're not sure what you want to do, who you want to be, if you're like, I've never fill in the blank, owned chickens. If you've never owned chickens, Abby, you should probably do it, even though you're scared.
Try 2 or 3.
She's going to come to my house and hold a chicken. That's what's going to happen.
I did hold one before, and it was okay, but maybe I need an experience with your chickens.
Exposure therapy is a thing. No, really and truly, life is hard, and the best things, the most fulfilling opportunities and experiences, they're scary. And you're probably going to get declined, denied, rejected, and that's hard, and do it anyway. And I promise you, somebody's going to say yes one day. And I was rejected for 2 jobs before I got the one that
Still tried it again.
wasn't paying the best, but it gave me the experience I need to get the next one. So don't give up. Do the thing. And if you ever feel like your heart is leading you toward nonprofit, give me a call. I would love to plug you in.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sitting down and sharing your story with us. I think it'll impact a lot of people too, so they can know, no matter what they come from, they can be whatever they want to be.
Absolutely.
This episode of Girl Power is brought to you by Covell Flowers, Espresso, Bakery, and Gifts. Kim Breeden and the crew at Shelter Insurance, June and Beyond Women's Boutique, and Tease Tease Custom Apparel. Thank you for being a proud sponsor of Girl Power.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. This has been Girl Power, and we'll see you next time.